welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. I hope you are doing well today. I feel like I'm doing well. I decided to just hit record right where I was sitting. I was trying to, you know what? I think part of the problem also is, and thank you for just sticking with me as I in my inconsistent moments. But I so I have a friend who started a podcast, and her podcast is there's definitely some major funding going into it, and I think that there's just a whole team of people that are helping with doing some digital stuff and doing the camera and the just the environment is very professional and all that stuff. And so I was telling and if you're listening and you know it's you, I love you, but I had to share about this. So I was sharing with my sister and my mom, and I was like, it's just my own character defect that is telling me to compare myself to her and be like, well, I'm not good enough. I mean, we talk about that stuff all the time, like comparing to other people and feeling like I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough. So I thought, well, I need to make sure that I at least go into my studio to record and I have my microphone and just look a little bit more professional. Well, I think that's part of the thing that has been making me record a bit less because sometimes I don't feel like going in there. I'm going against everything that I talk to you guys about all the time, but I feel okay about that because again, like I'm human. And that's why I do the podcast this way. I do the podcast in my little baseball shirt with paint on it and my hair up. And I'm not sitting in a formal area. I was thinking that I could make it so like there's a wall behind me and I've got like all this decor that's very modern and stuff, but that's not what this podcast is about. I can't I should say I have difficulty not comparing myself and feeling like I'm not good enough. And I think it's one of my character defects. It's a part of me. And I know when I say it out loud that I am good enough. And I know when I talk about why I do the podcast and why I do it this way, why I've got sweatpants on and socks and my dogs are laying around me and I'm relaxed. And that's because this podcast is about daily recovery. And this podcast is about the good days and the bad days. And sometimes I cry. Sometimes I'm in pain. Sometimes I can't find the words. I don't even edit the videos if I lose my place and my train of thought and stuff. I mean, that's what this podcast is about. It's about being human and not being unique. It's about being able to relate to people that are not perfect. It's about being imperfect, Rachel. I'm saying this to myself while I'm telling you. But anyway, so I have a change of background. I'm just back into this area is where I actually listen to my AA meetings in the morning. So this is my comfortable little couch, and I've got my remarkable tablet here that I take notes with, and I've got my sketching pencils, which is where I do some sketches. So why don't we just take a moment and look through my sketchbook for those of you who are looking at the video. I just have a couple of them, so don't worry, this won't take long. Look at that rose. Am I right? I did that. I drew that myself. It was one of my first sketches. just like 2 weeks ago. And I just sketched, this is a calla lily, and I have one of them in my front garden. And then this is a sketch of my hand sketching. And that's not that bad. So I just did that yesterday. Actually, they tend to look even better when you wait wait a day and look back at them. So that's not bad. That's not bad. So, anyway, what's the topic today? I'll tell you. The topic is about emotional sobriety in the 12 steps. So, I am writing an article for a company that it's called Or Health, OAR Health. And I believe that they are the manufacturers of naltrexone is the drug that I was given when I was in detox that reduces cravings for alcohol. And apparently, if you drink when you're on it, it reduces the pleasure and reward chemicals that you have in your brain and stuff. So, anyway, I like to check Help a Reporter Out, which is a website where reporters can post if they need articles or experts or something. So I like to check there. And there was one that was asking from the Or Health Company, asking for information from a somebody experienced in addiction, which would be me. And it's asking about emotional sobriety, like defining emotional sobriety. And one of the questions that it posed was, where do you find emotional sobriety in the 12 steps? And I thought, oh, that's a really interesting topic. So I thought maybe I would talk about it today before I write it out. So lucky us, lucky us. So, emotional sobriety in the 12 steps. Steps 1 through 3 are about surrender and stability. So, admitting our powerlessness over alcohol and life's unmanageability, and then surrendering to a higher power and adopting willingness. So, I think like emotional sobriety just peeks its little head out when I turned to a higher power. When I started to recognize that I am not him, that I need to be willing to depend on something outside of myself. And that dependence, as I talked about, I think yesterday even, leads to an independence, an inner freedom. And I think that inner freedom is a piece of emotional sobriety. It's like just the beginning of an emotional balance. I mean, it's almost premature to even say that. It's like it's an introduction to the idea that all of the chaos, all of that unmanageability, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like that chaos will subside. And steps 1 through 3 are when I'm just admitting that life, that I am emotionally crazy. I'm emotionally crazy. I was thinking about over the past couple days, I was thinking about some of the terrible stuff I did. I would say I was thinking about some of the really terrible decisions I made, and more specifically, how crazy I was. I think back to what I was thinking in my head, when I made certain decisions. For example, story time. I was dating this guy in college who I really liked, and then he decided to dump me and start dating somebody else, somebody who was smaller and cuter, right? There's me thinking that I'm not good enough. So he started dating this other girl. Well, I just was drinking my normal amount of drinking, which was constant. And I decided in one of my drunken stupors that it was a good idea for me to go completely drunk to his dorm room, which was on a fraternity hall, go to his dorm room, and he was in the dorm room with his girlfriend. They were sitting on his bed, and there were other fraternity brothers in the room. Okay. There was a bunch of people in there. I was completely drunk. And I decided that, well, what had happened was my car window got busted open, that it's hitting me now. So I had gone to my car, hopefully not to drive because I was drunk. I don't think I was. I think I was probably going to get something out of it. Who knows? I could have been wanting to drive. I have no idea. But I saw that somebody had taken a bat to my car windows, and that whoever it was, had done it to like every other car on the street for like a quarter of a mile. All of our car windows were busted open. And so I decided that I needed to run to my ex-boyfriend's room and tell him I needed his help. Oy, yeah, I know. It's embarrassing to even say it out loud. So I went to his dorm room, and all of these people were in there. And I went straight to him, and I was like crying, like, I need your help. That's all I really remember. I remember standing there and like totally crying to him while all these people were looking at me. And I think he said, "What do you want me to do about it?" That's what I think he said. And I don't know what I said. And so it's kind of a blur. And then I remember going back to my room and crying. I was looking for an excuse to like go to his dorm room to see him, and I probably made a complete fool of myself. I know that I did. And I think I was friends with him much later after that. Like after I had graduated, I had gone back to the school, and he actually talked to me and told me how grateful he was for our relationship because I allowed him to get out of his shell a little bit or something. I'm like, I don't, okay. So, you're still with somebody else. Anyway, that is like the chaos, the insanity. I could not think reasonably. I just did stupid things. I was always doing stupid things. And so steps one, particularly 1 through 3, showed me that that chaos in my head does not have to reside there, that there is a solution. So I think in those first 3 steps are the introduction to the idea that sobriety isn't about just not picking up a drink. It's about letting go. It's about building something within ourselves that we couldn't when we were drinking. So steps 4 through 7 are about doing the inventory. They're about humility, and they're about letting go and release. So conducting that searching and fearless moral inventory, sharing the inventory with another person, accepting that these are my defects and asking for them to be removed. So this is a big one. the emotional sobriety can't come without digging deep and pulling all of that stuff out of my dark place. Like step four took me a long time to do. I remember being in meetings and some of the dudes in the meeting threw a couple pens at me as an indication that you need to pick up a pen and do your step four. Like they would ask me, "Did you do your step four yet?" And I'm like, "Uh-uh." And they would throw, not meanly, it was very lightheartedly, threw pens over at me and they're like, "This is all you need." Um, so emotional sobriety was not going to be possible, like now that I know from steps 1 through 3 that there is this other way of living that requires me to look inward. Steps 4 through 7 are doing some pretty difficult work. It's it's not easy, but it's simple. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous like walks you through how you do it. They even have a chart for how you fill out like these are the people that I'm pissed off at. This is why I'm pissed off at, and this is why I'm pissed off. And these are my character defects. Like this is the trend of things that how I maybe contributed to damaging those relationships, that all of these resentments that I have. And right now, these are just doing an inventory. This is not going and trying to reach out to those people and make amends, or you're not bringing them into the equation at all. You're still looking inward. And it's doing a house cleaning. That's what it is. It's not looking across the street at everybody else's yard that's not mowed, or they've got their trash sitting out on the curb. I'm not worried about what everybody else is doing. I have to look inward and figure out like what am I holding on to that I'm not benefiting from. And when I'm able to really look at that, and I think the most important part for me of those steps to clear them away was talking to another person, allowing myself to let that stuff come out of my mouth. That was the hardest part. But when I did, I feel an immediate release. I feel like an immediate, like physical release, not to mention emotional release when I talk about the stuff that's wrong between my ears. And that all started when I practiced step 4 and picking up that pen and starting to write down what I was thinking. And I was very fearful of writing it down because I didn't want anybody to see it. I didn't want to see it, but more so, I think I didn't want anybody else to see it. And then when I had to talk about it with my sponsor, which now I would say I got to talk about it with my sponsor, it turns out that she had the same stuff happen to her too. So I got to sit with her and I got to think about what life might be like if I let that stuff go. And it started to reveal this feeling of peace that underneath all of that junk inside my dark place, there is just peace, you know? So steps 8 and 9 are about making amends and repairing relationships. So we list the people that we have harmed, and a lot of times they are the same people that were in the step 4. And we become willing to make amends to them. And doesn't that feel like bravery? I mean, it absolutely felt like bravery. And when I feel like I need to do something brave, I cannot do it fast enough. Some people, they start in the program and they want to make their amends before they even get to step 3. And that's not the time. Like the steps are in order for a reason. So when we get to the point where we make direct amends whenever possible, we're ready because it's necessary to clean up that dark stuff, the stuff in my dark place, before I start bringing other people into the equation, because I cannot rationally think if I'm still holding on to all of those resentments. I react to them. I react according to um, old damage, old stuff that hurts. And so I need to look at the stuff and talk about it and before I'm actually going to go out and bring somebody else into the equation. So talking to other people about my extreme errors in judgment, my crazy. I had to go out and talk about my crazy. So at first, it seems like, steps 1 through 3, I'm talking to God about my crazy. I'm inviting him in and recognizing that I might be a little crazy. And then steps 4 through 7, I'm talking to my sponsor and starting to share in meetings that, oh, you guys are crazy too. Like this is some of my errors in judgment that I've made. And then they share back, yeah, I did that too. And then so now I know that I'm not unique anymore. And there's so much strength in numbers and knowing that I'm not walking alone anymore. So being able to go up to somebody who I shared some of my crazy with back in the day and actually try to repair that with them, there is an even bigger release, like weight off of my shoulders for that. Step 10 then is the ongoing maintenance, the daily personal inventory, and being able to promptly admit when a little bit of my crazy comes out. And that is in order to not prevent new grudges from forming and keep my emotions um, keep them flowing and not have things back up and cause like these frustrations that make me want to explode. So the ongoing maintenance really for me was when emotional sobriety started to fit me like a nice suit. Like, I look good in this. I feel good in this. That step 10 ongoing maintenance was like, I don't want to do anything that's going to dirty or rip my suit because it just feels good. I look better, I look healthy, and I don't look crazy when I wear this suit of emotional sobriety. Steps Step 11, prayer, meditation, and pause. Now, I feel like this is extra credit. That's what I feel like. I feel like step 11, prayer, meditation, and pause, where we're improving our conscious contact with our higher power through prayer and meditation. Um, I felt like this has been a big challenge for me, but I have done it by acting as if I created these daily routines in my life that have allowed me to build and nurture a relationship with my concept of my higher power. And these actions that I do have become habits. And when I know what I need to do for myself each day, there is yet another sense of peace. It cultivates like mindfulness. We hear all over the place about mindfulness. This way of cultivating mindfulness was created before mindfulness was even a thing that people talked about. The steps of the program, along with prayer and meditation, they keep me where my feet are. And that's emotional sobriety too. Keeping my mind where my feet are so that I'm not thinking about the past, I'm not thinking about the future. I'm thinking about right where I am right now. Because in the past, hopefully, if I'm practicing step 10 correctly, um, I'm not stuck in the past. I'm not thinking backward and thinking, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. My emotions are staying current and clear. And I'm I'm staying in the moment. And when something happens that I feel very grateful for, like the sun coming out, I am able to, because I'm present, say thank you. And that's what I do. I look up and say thank you, for little things that happen that I'm grateful for. And that becomes a habit too. And then finally, step 12, service, carrying the message to other alcoholics and practicing the principles in all of our affairs. This is about being able to stop being so selfish and share my experience, strength, and hope with others. Like that solidifies my emotional sobriety. Being of service to others and talking about my aches and pains allows me to remember, okay, how did I get rid of this the first time? Last week when I felt this way, what did I do? If I keep my mouth shut, that emotional sobriety is at risk. And if my emotional sobriety is at risk, then it's only a matter of time that my physical sobriety is at risk. So emotional sobriety absolutely can lead to long-term sobriety. I've seen people stay sober without being emotionally sober and just focusing on physical sobriety, but that's not going to work for me. I've got a very complex and loud crazy inside my head. So I need to practice these steps in all of my affairs in order to gain this suit, to be able to put on this nice suit of emotional sobriety and wear it around so that I can keep my head held high and feel protected from my own crazy, really. So that's what I've got today. Thanks so much for listening. That was good. That was good for me to talk out. Now I get to write it down for my article. I'll let you know, obviously. I'll let you know if I get published on that website. That would be cool. So thank you for listening today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.